Hi, it's me, Stitches. Willkommen, bienvenue, and welcome back to my channel, where we are continuing our 13 weeks of Genderween. So, last week was Ariel, so let's see who we can get this week. This week is Maleficent. Ooh. So, go ahead and do the research on Maleficent, and we'll go from there. So, let's go! Maleficent is the main character who is the main antagonist in the Walt Disney Productions' 16th animated feature film, Sleeping Beauty, in 1959. Okay. So, and she was played by Angelina Jolie in the 2014 adaptation. Let's look at some images of Maleficent. Okay, so black and purple. Main feature is horns. The main feature are those horns. Okay. Some horns. Now, my printer is not big enough to print the entire headdress, but I can at least print the horns. So I may go ahead and print those horns and the top of her staff, because I looked those up last night and saved them. So I may go ahead and print those depending on time, and I can't do it on this computer. I have to do it on my laptop. So if I do end up printing them, I'll go ahead and do that. I could do something like this. Cover the head. So, let's go ahead and pull fabrics from what I have, just so that I can get an idea of what colors I do have, which we're looking for purple and black. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll continue. These are the fabrics I do have. I have a little bit of a velvet, kind of like a cotton velvet, and it's purple. I do have some leftover for the Evil Queen that I have, and I could probably put those two together. This is more for like an interfacing style fabric, as in like something to stiffen it. And then I have this one twin sheet that I can use, and I think, let me show you what I have an idea for. So my idea is to take my Renaissance costume that I did for Rapunzel and basically change it up a little bit again. I'm going to try to elongate the back side of it so that it makes it more into like a peplum, full sleeves, and then use my Catwoman pants and keep it within the same color scheme, but make it more of a jacket than a full-on cape or cloak. Pulled my Renaissance pattern, a sleeve pattern that I know works very well with the Renaissance pattern, and also a collar piece off of a Yaya Han cosplay costume. And I think if I did this and this in the black, this collar in the velvet, and then trim everything out with that purple velvet, maybe extend the back a little bit so that it scoops down from the front. Basically to make more of a peplum style base to the costume itself. I think that would work out pretty well. Other than that, maybe throw on this belt around the waist. I don't know yet. I have to think about this for a little bit more before I start cutting it out of the fabric. Because again, I don't have very much fabric, so... and I can't spend any money this week. This is going to be a little tricky, so let me think about it. So we are again allowed to go shopping through our closet. I think I remember that I have my Catwoman. Come here. So they're inside out, but they're pleather pants. I think I'm going to use those for this cosplay. So I have these boots that I'm going to use for this cosplay as well. I think they're going to work for Maleficent. And so I guess the next thing to do would be to start laying out the pattern on the doublet, of the doublet onto the fabric, to see if I have enough fabric for one. Because again, I do not have very much black fabric, unfortunately. So it's gonna be a little bit of a play around with it. So first things first, I wanted to go ahead and redraft the pattern. I have this idea of a style of peplum jacket to be made, so I needed to take my Renaissance pattern that I had for Rapunzel and alter the hemline of it so that it flares out more and has more of a visible skirt. So I went ahead and did that first, retracing the original pattern and drafting out where I wanted to do the alterations. Right here I'm doing a facing lining part, so because I know I don't have that much fabric, I won't be able to use it as a lining as well. So it's going to have to be pieced together. So in not being able to be seen, I need to do a facing. Here is the back panel that I'm just tracing out, and I'm going to have to piece some of the scraps together. Right here I'm making sure that everything's going to line up with the side seam, that it comes to the right length. After I finish the dovetail right here, I'm going to go ahead again and make sure that the side seam lines up, and it works. So I'm making sure to mark all my patterns because it's very important to mark what you did so you know that this piece goes to this piece and so on and so forth. Also, it helps to put the year on it so you know when you completed this pattern. I also marked SA for seam allowance on all the pieces, and I'll show you how to do the magnet trick when cutting it out so you don't have to actually mark out all your seam allowances. The magnet trick pretty much is that you get these little neodymium magnets off of online, Amazon, whatever, and you basically see how many magnets it takes to mark a half an inch or even a full inch. For me, it's 4, so I take 4 of them off, and you place it along the side of your scissors so that when you are cutting your fabric, you keep a half an inch away from your pattern, and that allows you to cut 1/2 inch every single time. So there you go. Hopefully that helps. For the rest of day 1, I went ahead and just laid out the fabric and cut it all out. All the lining pieces, all the facing pieces, and realized I had enough fabric. So the one thing I did change is that I ended up having to use a different color for the front part of the lining, only because I wanted the purple to be seen, and since the back part had the little peplum, you would see the inside of it, so I wanted that to be purple. This fabric is a stiffer fabric, so I wanted to use it more as an interfacing. You're not going to see this in any way, shape, or form, but it's going to add some weight to the very thin cotton on the outside by giving it some more structure. I'm going to flatline these black pieces to these brightly colored Christmas colors, and I'm going to treat it like one piece of fabric. I may even do some decorative top stitching just to keep it all together and make it look a little bit more expensive. Again, this bed sheet was $1.99. This scrap fabric here is something out of a surprise bag. And then this is also $1.99 purple sheet that is a leftover piece from my Evil Queen costume. I'm trying to use everything possible. As you can see here, I had to move it because I wanted it to be visible at the bottom, and I ended up changing the front panel, which you'll never see, to leftover from my Lady Tremaine costume that I used for her lining. These are all bed sheets I got for $1.99 each over at Be Thrifty, so I had to use up the scraps. Darn. So, I know I look like a hot mess because I haven't even showered or anything yet, but I need to go ahead and start one of the prints. The first print is done. The second print should end here in a few moments. And then I can go ahead and switch the filaments and print the staff, or the top of the staff. I'll show you how I do that, but hopefully I can get done the top stitching to the doublet. There is 1, 2, 6 pieces that need to be top stitched and then flatlined. I did do a test to see which stitch I wanted to go with for a top decorative stitch to try adding some form of detail to this costume. I eventually ended up going with this little, I'll show it in a close-up later. I went with this little floral stitch that it does take a little bit of time stitching, and timed out that it's probably going to take me probably about 30 minutes to do one piece. So that'll be something that I can get all the top stitching done today, and maybe start interfacing and cutting out the collar. I don't know, but I was up pretty late last night getting this program to function, and I'll show you how I did it. So, coffee first, then let's go. The first print is finished, so I'll go ahead and clean that up. This is what she looks like when she's all cleaned up. I gotta print another one the opposite direction. Here I am playing around with the program because I did have to modify the original file from Thingiverse in order to fit on my build plate. I'm gonna go ahead and put in the next one, but I gotta change out the filament first because there is not enough to be able to print that staff. So hold. Filament is changed. Let's go ahead and get to her staff. And there's her staff. It's going to take 6 hours and 21 minutes, so might as well start on that. So since I have the horns, I started doing this duct tape form over the top of a mannequin head. I will go ahead and split it down the middle, put it on, and then figure out how much more I need to add with my husband's help when he gets here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach these horns like so, and then figure out how to drape duct tape over the top of it to make it look like fabric. Spray paint the whole thing black, and then maybe sit here and gem out this front part, because I do have some black stones or some kind of stone somewhere, and I think that's going to work out well for this headdress. I think that'll work. So I didn't show it, but basically I just put a plastic bag over the mannequin head and spray painted it. After I basically made a duct tape form of my head and glued the horns on there with hot glue, then wrapped some of the tape around the outside to stabilize it, and I just spray painted it. So now it's gotta dry, and then maybe I'll go back and stone the area if I have time. I wanted to add some detail to the back of the doublet, so I found this file by just searching symbols for Maleficent, and I decided to just try making it bigger by hand. I then traced this out with a Sharpie so I can see it a little bit better, and then I transferred it to the fabric using a chalk transfer. And for the rest of this, it's pretty much going to be voiceover, because with everything going on in the background, I decided to mute everything. So I started off by using a zigzag stitch on a very small setting, short stitch length and short stitch width. I can put those settings in the comments if you want, but every machine is different. I traced everything out with black first, and then went back in with some detailed threads to add a little bit more interest, because I felt that the black was pretty much flat and I wanted this to look a little bit more expensive, so I tried my best. Again, trying to turn washed out black cotton into a more expensive looking fabric is not the easiest thing to do in the world, but as you can see, here is the different colors that I used, which was a light purple and a teal. I was trying to find a lime green that she has that would match her flames, but I didn't have one. And again, I can't spend any money on this one. There's the decorative stitch that I'm currently putting down. This is basically going to take me about 25 minutes per panel, and yeah, so that took a long time, and I have to now work on the other ones. So after all the top stitching, I used my iron to get rid of my chalk marks, which is one of those wax chalk marks. They pretty much melt underneath the iron. Lined up my registration marks and gave it a good stitch down and pressed it nice and flat. I'm going to go ahead and add the chenilling tomorrow, but I think for tonight I am going to call it quits. It's quite late and I'm tired, so see you in day 3. Good morning! So it is day 3 and I have construction people walking past my door. Anyways, I need to go ahead and put the lining together, sew the whole jacket together, bag it out. I need to also then put the frogs down the front of the shirt, or the jacket. Excuse me. And I need to also stone or figure out what I'm doing with the headdress in the front part to figure that out. And I also need to figure out the sleeve situation on that. Yeah, so there's some things I still need to do, and hopefully I can get it all done today because I am doing laundry right now, and I still have to figure out what I'm cooking for dinner. So, I guess enough dilly-dallying, and let's go. I think I found the staff for this thing. It's basically one of these IKEA lamps. I have 2 of them, and we haven't used this one obviously in forever, and it's been out in the storage unit. So I'm just going to unscrew this and use this 3-piece staff in the middle. The lamp still works, so I can always use it for something else or make it a tabletop lamp. And I can just basically just use this and we'll go from there. And that's what it looks like as a tabletop version. But that's just going to go back out in storage anyways. It's basically only used around Halloween time for this flame flicker light. By the way, don't discount using a power tool to speed along any kind of aging process. It always works. So this is as far as I've gotten. Did the sleeve. Not 100% happy about it, but I gotta keep pushing on with this. Here is the coat so far. Still need to put the collar together. I do have a small error right here, but I don't know. Maybe it'll fray. Maybe I'll do a top stitch over here and just pop the stitching so that I can fray it some more. On the other side it lined up, so I don't know. Maybe hidden underneath the collar, but I'll try to fix that. Still have to do the other sleeve. So, and then I got to do the lining and then put the little frogs down the front, which is going to look something like that. So, yeah, I'll just top stitch them on once I get the lining put together. But I got to get the collar. I really wish I had like some kind of black scarf, because the only sheer fabric I have has these little white hashes on it on both sides, so that's not gonna work. Staff is done. I want to add a little bit of lime green to it for smoke effect, but I have a feeling that the green screen will not let that happen, so I'll just forego that right now. I still have to put these onto the costume, which I wonder if I should just do a quick top stitch on them and call it good, because this costume's hit or miss. I don't know yet. So considering that we're about to get a storm coming in, I got the lining done. It's on. The whole thing's together now. I'm still debating about if I want to do this with the sleeve or not, because I don't know. I threw on this scarf. It's actually the neckerchief from when I was in the Navy, so it might work, I don't know. Collar standing up nice, back looks nice. All I gotta do now is put these frogs down the front and then finish the headdress and the staff. So there we go.
there we go. There's that. Now I need to figure out some other things like the headdress. And what am I doing with the sleeve? I don't know. I also need to remake the face mask. 1, it doesn't line up. 2, I don't like the color. And 3, why does it look like a ball gag and not a set of lips? So that's going in trash. So digging through my stash, I did find this, and I think this will match the makeup a lot better. What? Construction's noisy. For the face mask. And yeah, so I'll work on that later. I'm gonna go ahead and do all the gluing for the stones first. So, pardon the construction outside, but here is the headdress. And hopefully everything works out. I really don't want to repaint it, but again, this is only just for a photo shoot. I don't think I'd ever wear this to a con, but I don't know. I like it.
Good morning, and welcome to day 4, which is our reveal day, because I'm a day early. So, I'm not too happy with this one, but maybe you can make the judgment of that. So, without further ado, here's the reveal. I do hope that it was somewhat enjoyable. Me personally, I'm going to take a fail on this costume. I'm not too happy the way it turned out, and that's my doing. Let's go over the breakdown. The headdress did not come out the way I planned on it to be, and it was fairly flimsy. I will admit that. The horns I like and the jewels I like, but the headdress I do not. The cut of the jacket I like. I like the embroidery that I did down the back. I do not like these frogs. These frogs were a pain in the butt to try buttoning while I was wearing the gloves. And I ended up having to use a hook to actually lace the frogs. I do like the velvet, but I do not like this black cotton that I used. It looks fairly washed out. It looks old. It looks not regal. So even with all the little top stitching that I did on it to keep all the layers together and add some form of decorative effect to it, I'm not too happy with it. And then again, with the sleeves, again, you have to be happy to what you are wearing, and you have to be comfortable in what you're wearing. Even if it doesn't meet your expectations, even though you made it, you have to be comfortable, and I'm not comfortable in this one. Fit-wise, yes, it fits great, but actual concept-wise, I should have gone with more of a trench coat for this than a doublet style, but I wanted to stay more historical to her character than to bring it into modern day. So this is only a first iteration of the character. If I decide to do her later on, then I will go with a trench coat style, more of like a gambit style trench coat, but longer. So again, to me, this is a loss, and we don't win every time. So don't get distraught over something that doesn't work out. Just remember, everybody makes mistakes. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. So again, this one I'm going to chalk up to a loss. And let's go on to next week, to where we continue to pull another character from the jar and continue with our 13 weeks of gender weaning. Juicy.